Things are not quite what they appear.
So last night I had the opportunity to check out the new Wizarding World film, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. And going into this film, I really didn't know exactly what to expect. I'd seen a lot of positive reviews regarding it. I'd seen a lot of negative reviews regarding it. And I'm a fan of this franchise. I've enjoyed the other two films, but they've never been quite as good to me as what we got with the Harry Potter franchise. But I did have a little bit of a higher expectation for this one, just due to the fact that it was focusing on the character of Dumbledore. I'm a fan of the books, and I'm a fan of the movies, and Dumbledore has always been one of the most fascinating characters to me in those stories. And so to see that they were having a film that was going to focus on him was something that I thought was very, very interesting. So I went into this film kind of expecting to gain some of those secrets, to learn a little bit more about Dumbledore. And I will say that this is probably my favorite one of the franchise. To me, it was definitely the most entertaining of all of the Fantastic Beasts movies. For instance, the magic in this film is a lot more fun to watch than what we got in the previous movies. There are a lot of great action sequences, and they are really well done. It reminded me a lot of the great magic that we used to get in the Harry Potter films, such as in the final one. And you see some really cool, kind of, I guess you could say, boss fights in this one. You do see a little bit of a conflict between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, and that was pretty sweet as well. So the action is great. The characters in here, there's a lot of new characters. There's a lot of the returning characters. Newt Scamander's back. Albus Dumbledore's back. Loved Albus Dumbledore. Loved Newt Scamander. I think that Newt Scamander is kind of not really needed in this franchise anymore, but I didn't really mind him in the movie. The standout for this one, though, was Dumbledore. He had the most interesting story. It was fun to see how he was working things and basically how he was involved in this conflict without actually being able to be involved with the conflict. Gellert Grindelwald was also really great in this film. We had Mads Mikkelsen replacing Johnny Depp. And while I don't agree with how Johnny Depp was replaced or why he was replaced, I gotta say I think I enjoyed Mads Mikkelsen a little bit better. He felt like somebody who was... He felt evil, he felt bad, but he doesn't look it. Johnny Depp just looks like a villain, like somebody that I don't think you would ever actually see him as being a good guy. He just looks like a bad guy. Mads Mikkelsen looked more similar to Dumbledore. He looks like this wise wizard that you could follow along with, but in reality he really is quite an evil person, and you see that a lot throughout this film, and he did a really, really good job with that. The storyline of this one can get a little bit confusing at times. There's a lot of little side missions, all the characters are going off and doing their own things, and at times it can be confusing, which, to be fair to the movie, that kind of was the point of all this stuff, is that it was meant to be confusing to Grindelwald, and so you can kind of give it points for that at the same time, but some of the storylines didn't feel like they really needed them. They just kind of were happening to happen. But again, it was that confusion, so I see what they were going for there. But the story overall, it's a lot of politics about the Wizarding World, and there are some good moments to it. There are some moments that I didn't care for all that much. One of the things that I did find kind of interesting is the fact that I believe that there are 2 more films planned for this franchise, and I feel like they really could have concluded it with this one. The way that it ends, or it could have ended, they should have just probably made it the final big story ending at the end of this one. I don't know where the next 2 films are going to go, or how they're going to fill 2 more films with this franchise. But regardless, the story did what it needed to do. It got us to those fun action set pieces. It got us to know a little bit more about the characters. And I thought that was all really, really fun. It was a great time. It was really entertaining. I enjoyed it. My younger brother enjoyed it. My mom enjoyed it. All of which are big fans of the Potter world and everything that the Wizarding World has given to us as of this time. And so we really, really enjoyed it. As far as the cleanliness of this film, I was actually really quite surprised. This is a really clean film. Like, there's hardly anything that you have to worry about in it. There's no swearing. There is no drinking or alcohol unless you include the giggle water, which nobody includes the giggle water. And so really the only thing in here is the fact that there is some action or violence, I guess you could say. It's the Wizarding World, magical violence. Nothing like what you haven't seen in the other Harry Potter films. Nothing that I think is going to be troublesome for any little kids or anything like that. The only other thing is there's one part where there is a monster involved that can be a little bit creepy. Probably for little kids it might be a little gross or scary. Really not all that bad for the majority of us though, so really this is quite a clean film and I was rather impressed by it. But let's go ahead and let's get into my final thoughts. So in the end, The Secrets of Dumbledore succeeds at being the most entertaining movie in the Wizarding world that we have received since the conclusion of the Harry Potter franchise. Though it still doesn't quite live up to the majority of the Harry Potter films, it proved, for me at least, to be a lot more entertaining than the previous Fantastic Beasts movies. I found myself caring more about the story. I found myself caring more about the characters, particularly Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald. And so that it gets points for it. And as a cleanliness film, it is done really, really well. There's not a lot that you need to look for as for children or even for yourself. There's nothing in this film that you need to worry about at all. The storyline was good. The characters were good. The action and the entertainment was really good as well. But overall, I wish that it could have been just a little bit better. I feel like if they had just smoothed it out a little bit more, maybe made it not so confusing, maybe made some of the characters feel a little bit more important, made some of the storylines factor into the main plot a little bit more, it probably would have been a bit better. But overall, it is a well done film, and for a rating, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B. And on the cleanliness level, like I mentioned, a little bit of this fantasy magical violence, a little bit of some scary magical beasts, but nothing that's super serious at all. There are some references to a gay relationship between Albus and Grindelwald. Nothing that takes up a majority of the film, but it does call back to the fact that they were in a relationship. So overall, for this film, on a cleanliness rating, I'm going to give it an A-. Definitely something that I recommend as a family film. Go and see it with your kids, go and see it with your wife, and have a good time. If you are a fan of this Wizarding World, I think you'll really enjoy it. If you didn't like the previous Fantastic Beasts movies, I still think there's a decent chance that you might enjoy this one. You may not love it, kind of like me, you might find it as sort of a lesser Harry Potter film, but you just might enjoy it enough to where you look forward to more of these Wizarding World films and that you were excited that this one came out and you liked what it was able to give us, because that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm not sure where this franchise will go, but I look forward to more events happening in the Wizarding World. If you guys have seen this movie, let me know in the comments what you thought of it, and be sure to look forward to more reviews coming in the future.